Howdy, everybody, and a very pleasant game day to you wherever you may be. The college football playoff has officially and finally arrived right here in Bryan College Station. It has been a long time coming. Of course, we remember that initial ranking in 2016. We remember narrowly missing it in 2020, but now the fighting Texas Aggies, Mike Elko in just his second season at the helm, are in the 12-team field. They are part of the party. However, they are not content with simply being invited to this 12-team tournament. They don't want to say howdy, make their rounds, and leave early. No, they want to get out of this one today and book a trip up to DFW for New Year's Eve. But standing in their way is a Miami Hurricanes team that is also making their first college football playoff debut. It's a similar story as Cristobal's Hurricanes enter with a 10-2 record. They're considered to be the last team in the 12-team field. They are far from a walkover. They're led by an all-ACC quarterback. They've got an all-American receiver. They're physical in the trenches, just like an SEC team would be, and their defensive line includes two ends that can wreak havoc on opposing signal callers. Can the Aggies handle Ruben Bain? That's been a big talking point this year. Which team will handle the pressure and the moment? We'll find out later this afternoon. Of course, I'm Richard Zane. We want to welcome you in to the TexAgs Tailgate Show brought to you by our friends at Duck Camp. We're just about 90 minutes away from kickoff between Texas A&M and Miami in this first-round college football playoff game. Of course, it'll be televised on ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, all sorts of different alternate viewing experiences for you today. We do want to thank you for tuning into this show because we know there's a much bigger production going on across the street on ESPN College Game Day. Here's what you can expect from our show over the next half hour. In just a couple moments, we're going to go out to Kyle Field and check in with David Nuno. He's going to be on the field. Players are going to be walking by. Maybe other dignitaries are going to be walking by. We'll get a feel for what the energy is like inside the home of the 12th man on this historic day in College Station. We'll also give you a handful of players to watch. We'll give you the latest update of the CFP availability report because the playoff for the first time ever requiring student athlete availability reporting and injury news. We'll also give you some Prize Picks player squares you might want to watch for in this one. And we'll also give you a look at some games around the country. Of course, Texas A&M Miami's a standalone game today. So it will be the entire nation following Ags and Canes. And on our way out on this show, we'll make a few predictions, okay? We're just a couple moments away from chatting with David Nuno, but first we've got to pay the bills. We want to give a ton of appreciation to our friends at Duck Camp for jumping on as the presenting sponsor of the TexAgs Tailgate Show this year. So whether you are hunting birds at sunrise or flipping burgers before kickoff, Duck Camp's got you covered this fall. Check it all out at duckcamp.com, built for the outdoors, designed for everyone else. Cade Bickham's producing the show this morning. Cade, no Nuno yet? We still waiting on Poppy?
I think he should be joining us shortly.
Okay, well, while we wait for David Nuno, let's go ahead and mix up our show schedule, shall we? Let's dive right into those players to watch, okay? On Texas A&M side, the offense, I've circled, highlighted Casey Concepcion. He is a consensus All-American. What's the difference in consensus and unanimous? Well, he's not a first-teamer in all of the reputable outlets. On the year, he's got 57 catches for 886 receiving yards. He has found the end zone 12 times. That's 8 times as a receiver. 9 times as a receiver, 2 times as a punt returner, and once as a rusher. He's got 1,400 all-purpose yards. Just like A&M's got to know where Malachi Toney is on the field at all times, Miami has to do much of the same for KC. Big-time players show up in big-time games, and if Marcel Reed's going to be able to settle down and get comfortable, he's going to have to connect with KC early on. Look for him to find his number one receiver. On the defensive side, a unanimous All-American, just the 11th unanimous All-American in program history. It is Cassius Howe, the SEC's Defensive Player of the Year. 29 total tackles, 19 of them solo stops, 11 and a half sacks to lead the Southeastern Conference this season. He also has 14 total TFLs to his credit. Another big name to watch on the defensive side. I did not give him to you on these players to watch. It's going to be Tyreek Chappelle. He figures to be the guy that's going to be face guarding Malachi Toney all over the field. We'll see what those two speedsters can do and who will win that battle. On the other side, the other sideline, I should say, Miami's quarterback, Carson Beck. He's completing almost 75% of his passes this year. He's thrown for over 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. That's a familiar ratio because it's the same ratio that Marcel Reed has this year. But it's curious that one of them is considered turnover prone over the other. You have to make Carson Beck uncomfortable today. That's going to be the name of the game for the Aggie defense. He's not much of a threat to run. He's only run for 39 yards all season. Now, the last time we heard that a quarterback wasn't much of a threat to run, it was a guy by the name of Quinn Ewers right here at Kyle Field in the regular season finale in 2024. So going to need to keep Beck in the pocket, make him uncomfortable, and maybe force him into an interception or two. Now, when he does face top 30 passing defenses, and Texas A&M's ranked 21st nationally, he's thrown for just 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, those both coming in Miami's 2 losses to Louisville and SMU, respectively. For the Hurricanes on the defensive side, it's the guy that has been in the news, kind of, but only for what other people have said about him, Ruben Bain Jr., their all-ACC defensive end. 37 tackles, 19 solo stops, just 4.5 sacks and 7.5 TFLs, but teams do double him a lot. He did feel disrespected earlier on in the build-up to this game. As Trey Zune said on Selection Sunday that the Aggies feel they'll be able to handle him. I don't think that was as disrespectful as people on Miami Twitter want you to believe. Simply just Trey Zune being a confident football player and confident in his abilities and confident in what the Maroon Goons have done all season long. Remember, going into that regular season finale in Austin, the Aggies were considered to be a front runner for the Joe Moore Award. But we'll see if Ruben Bain has taken that bulletin board material, quote unquote bulletin board material, which I do find to be a little overrated. And we'll see if he has a high caliber game, as he is a high caliber athlete. And I don't believe high-caliber athletes need any additional motivation when you're playing in the college football playoff. Cade Bickham, give me an update on Mr. Nuno.
Well, you should see him shortly. We're still working on getting him for sure, though.
Okay. As we continue to work through some technical difficulties here on the TexAgs Tailgate show, let's go ahead and get into some of the Prize Picks player squares that you can play today as Texas A&M takes on Miami coming up at 11:10 a.m. Central Time. Reminder that Prize Picks is the best site to play daily fantasy sports. You can go to prizepicks.com and use the code TexAgs when you sign up to receive a guaranteed $50 when you play your first $5 in lineups. Luke Evangelist has been so kind to pull some of these for us. Ashton Bethel Roman's got 3 things you can play. His longest reception at 14.5 yards. I like the more than there, and I definitely like more than on ABR to have more than 1.5 receptions. For KC, 4.5 receptions. If A&M's going to find a rhythm, I think Marcel's going to have to lean on Concepcion a lot, so I would also take the more than there. For Marcel Reed, a number of different things you can play here, including fantasy score, longest completion, yards of his longest rush, his pass attempts, his completions, his passing touchdowns, passing yards, pass and rush yards, rushing attempts, rushing yards. The one I like the most, 36.5 rushing yards. Give me more than for Mr. Marcel Reed. You can't catch him. He's the gingerbread man, Cade Bickham. Mario Craver, 5 things you can play there. And then, of course, if you want to play touchdown scorers, the Aggies available to you today. Amari Daniels, he is a Miami kid. Maybe he has a nice game against a hometown team. Ashton Bethel Roman, E.J. Smith. A&M likes him in goal line situations. We'll see if they hand it off to Emmett's kid. Remember, Emmett Smith played at Florida. Maybe E.J. has a big game against his father's old college rival. Isaiah Williams, also a player you can pick for a touchdown score, as is Jamarian Morrow. Le'Veon Moss, we expect him to play according to Pete Thamel. Le'Veon Moss, Mario Craver, Nate Burkitcher, Ruben Owens, Terry Bussey, and Theo Mellon Orstrom. Still a couple moments away from getting in with David Nuno. Okay, do you want to go ahead and play a couple of these clips that we've pulled while they get things figured out over there? Throughout the week, as we always do here at TexAgs, we've had a number of different guests on different TexAgs content throughout the week, in particular TexAgs Live, which you can find every weekday morning from 8 to 11 a.m. Central Time on KZNE in town, our YouTube page, or texags.com/live. That show always features guests like Josh Pate, Marty Smith, the film guy, Brooks Austin, who maybe we'll hear from in just a couple moments, tease. But we did want to highlight some of their perspectives heading into this college football playoff game between the Ags and Hurricanes. First, let's hear from Connor O'Gara. He did say there's a ton of parallels between these two teams, most notably that win over Notre Dame, but most importantly, both teams have won games in a variety of ways. And when push comes to shove in a college football playoff fight, you might have to adjust your style just a little bit in order to get out of it alive. And I think you can expect a fight today. Here's Connor O'Gara sharing his perspective earlier this week.
Where early season win against Notre Dame, that's the best thing on their resume. And A&M obviously did that in South Bend, and Miami did that in a home game. So it's a different story. But you're right in that you could look at the way that the schedule played out and go, well, it's just kind of they beat up on some favorable competition to be able to get to this point. You've still seen what this team can do in a given day. And, Miami kind of had to win games in some different ways this year. There are games like that opener where people are saying, wow, Carson Beck, he wasn't the problem at Georgia last year. Look at all these things that they can do. Look at the plays that their receivers are making. Malachi Toney, man, he's going to be a nightmare. And I still think Malachi Toney is going to be the most difficult thing for the A&M defense to be able to slow down. But, they had to win games in a variety of ways. And it's the same thing that I really praised A&M for during the regular season was that, you're going to need to be able to play different styles. I know you're big into the fight game. Styles make fights, right? A&M is going to be in a fight in this one. They could have to do some different things to kind of slow down that really loaded Miami defensive line with Ruben Bain. And what are they going to be able to do if their possessions are eliminated? So I just think that it's going to be an interesting chess match with two coaches that I think have seen their teams have to show a lot of different faces over the course of this year.
So that was Connor O'Gara. You can find his full interview on TexAgs.com on demand right now. We do have some clips from Josh Pate, Peter Burns, who was here in the TexAgs studio earlier this morning, and even our QB1, Stephen McGee. Maybe we'll get into those clips later. But right now, we're going to jump out live to the hotline and check in with David Nuno, who is inside Kyle Field with a special guest. It's Brooks Austin. I definitely want to get the film guy's take on this game, Nuno, but I do have to ask you a question first, right? Where is 12-year-old David's feelings at? Because I know you bleed maroon like the rest of us, but I know you grew up a Canes fan. And I imagine the only thing that could make today better for you is if you were trading out Brooks Austin for Jose Canseco or Charles Barkley or something like that.
Well, Richard, we've just had a disastrous couple of minutes here. I hope you can hear me, by the way.
I can.
But it's been a disastrous couple of minutes because, the Wi-Fi and everything. But the David Nuno, 12-year-old, was more of an Aggie than a Canes fan, but he definitely rooted for the Canes. It's all about maroon and white today. And as I bring in Brooks Austin, film guy, I had fun hanging out with you. How was your College Station experience?
That's like cringy or whatnot. I love this school. I like, as an outsider, you see the videos, it's like very cringy or whatnot. No. This is passion. It's what this looks like. It's what it should be. I'll tell you this much. This place will never, ever be empty. Never. It will never be non-committed to sports. It will never be non-committed to this university. And that's cool. That's cool. You can say whatever you want about all the little hymnals or whatever. It's cool. As an outsider, I was really invigorated because I love college football. I love college athletics. These people love it. It's not up and down. It's love all the time. And that's awesome, man.
Brooks, one of the things you and I think are on the same page on is that I think A&M left a lot of yards on the field in the Texas game. Yeah. So many yards because of falling running backs. And it wasn't Marcel's sharpest performance anyway. What has to be different today against Miami, a team that's got a similar style of defense?
Hey, Nuno, we're having issues with Brooks' mic.
Right. A lot of yards left on tape last week that, probably should have been picked up, particularly falling down, like not staying on our feet. That stuff's got to get a little bit better. I'm curious as an outsider, where's EJ Smith? Like, if we need this vertical presence, if Le'Veon Moss isn't healthy, let's get 22 in there. He can tote that thing physically downhill, which is what you need. Y'all have plenty of stuff that stretches the field horizontally with Concepcion and Craver in the RPO game. Y'all need a vertical rushing presence. And if Le'Veon Moss isn't that, I think EJ Smith can be.
All right, the Miami offensive line, very similar to A&M's offensive line. They don't give a lot of sacks. How does Cassius Howell and company get to Carson Beck, a guy who's not mobile?
Well, that's the key, right? He's going to be in one spot. We know where he's going to be, right? They don't manipulate the launch point a ton because he's not. We know they're throwing the ball game for a guy like Cassius Howell, who is getting into an automatic passing situation and know he can really key up his best rush. And you're going to need your best rush. These are two damn good tackles out here from Miami. They're NFL football players. 73 and 61. They'll be top 40 picks.
Brooks, one of the things about A&M is they have not put together 4 quarters.
Yeah.
After 12 games, can you put together 4 quarters? Like, is it possible?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And look, you're very one-sided here. They haven't either. They haven't beat a single team in the fourth. They have beaten teams in the first and second and held on. Okay, now they poured it on Pitt late in that football game, but that was a little bit of style points against a football team that they had to beat better than Notre Dame did. So you're right. Like, this is going to be all these playoff games are third and fourth quarter football games.
All right, let's close it out, Richard. You probably want to know what our score predictions are, right? Am I right about that?
Sure, absolutely. I want to know your score predictions.
I think, Brooks, A&M going to win 31-27. What say you?
All right, look, I'm just going to flip-flop right now on TexAgs, despite the fact that I love my Aggies fans. But here's the deal. When I pick games 28-27, that's me telling you I think it's a coin flip, man. I think we got a fourth quarter fist fight going down to the wire.
That, Brooks.
Yeah, no doubt.
Appreciate your time. Richard, I'm going to send it back to you because I know it's been a disastrous couple of minutes. Appreciate you putting up with our technical issues.
Hey, appreciate you, David Nuno. Thank you so much. We heard about 80% of what you guys had to say, which, considering the Wi-Fi and the connections in town with everybody making their way to College Station, I consider that a win. So that's it from David Nuno, who is at Kyle Field right now. Plenty of inside the stadium coverage from TexAgs today. You've got social media coverage coming your way as warm-ups are about to get underway. The most important thing that I think people are going to be paying attention to is perhaps number 8 in maroon, right, Cade Bickham? And we heard on College Game Day this morning that Pete Thamel is reporting he's expected to play, quote, expected to play, close quote, the College Football Playoff Student Athlete Availability Report. Okay, don't worry about a graphic or anything here. It came out just about a few minutes ago. Oh, and Cade's already got it. He's been elevated from questionable to game time decision. He's the only one listed on the A&M side of the report for Miami. They've got 3 players out, but the most notable thing for them is that there is no Keontae Scott listed, which means he is going to play today against the Aggies. So when things start to get going and full team workouts begin, there's going to be a lot of attention paid to the Texas A&M running backs. Most importantly, most specifically, number 8, Le'Veon Moss. He has not played since October the 11th, that game against Florida. He had rushed for almost 50 yards or maybe even over 50 yards on just a handful of carries in that game before suffering an ankle injury that has had him out of commission. So Le'Veon Moss trending towards playing in this one. If he could have upwards of a dozen carries, that would be a great sign for Mike Elko, Texas A&M, and everybody in the 12th man as the Aggies hope to win their first college football playoff game here today. Around the country, okay, the college football playoff has already started. There was a fantastic game last night in Norman, Oklahoma. I do say fantastic because the game was highly competitive, and the outcome is one that I would have preferred. The Alabama Crimson Tide are moving on. They defeated the Sooners 34-24. Oklahoma was up 17-0 early. Alabama erased that deficit in the blink of an eye. Helped out a ton by John Mateer's pick 6 late in the second quarter. That helped turn the tide. Yes, pun intended. Alabama is headed to the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day to face Indiana. I am of the mindset that the winner of that game in Pasadena will get to go on to the semifinals, and the losing head coach might head up to Ann Arbor, Michigan. We'll find out. As it relates to the Oklahoma Sooners, they are now 0-5 in college football playoff games, and that makes my heart burst with pride. I'm very happy to say that because I am not an Oklahoma Sooner fan in the slightest. Elsewhere in the college football playoff, obviously, Texas A&M and Miami's coming up right here at 11 a.m. That game on ABC, ESPN, ESPN2. You also have it on ESPN News. So many different alternate casts to watch today, Cade. And then the other two college football playoff games, Tulane at Ole Miss. The Rebels are a 17.5-point favorite, and James Madison is headed to Eugene. The Ducks, a 21-point favorite. Not too much intrigue there, as both the Rebels and the Ducks appear to be waltzing their way to the second round in the quarterfinals. It's Tulane versus No Lane in Oxford, and then James Madison simply just happy to be here thanks to the Duke Blue Devils in that ACC championship game a couple weeks back. Now, if you are wondering why Texas A&M, the best matchup of the day, is not in prime time, take a look at those two NFL games. Eagles Commanders at 4 o'clock on Fox, Packers Bears 7:20 on Fox. ESPN didn't want a game to go up against the NFL. Makes sense. So that's why the Aggies and Canes are kicking off in just about an hour and 20 minutes. Okay, let's go back to our cuts here for a moment, right? We've already heard from Connor O'Gara. Let's go ahead and get some Pate State material out there. Josh Pate is picking the Aggies to win this game, or at least he was earlier in the week when he stopped by TexAgs Live. He wasn't too confident in that one, right? He said he was about a 52-48% split on who he should go with. So he expects this game to be close. However, he did explain why he thinks the Ags could and should beat Miami today.
Yep. So when you're talking about health at the tailback position and you're talking about the variety of weaponry, also your weaponry getting healthy, to me, that's what pushed me a little bit over the edge for A&M because I was very much on the fence as to who to pick. I'm like 52-48 kind of deal, not final score, but percentage of picking who to win. The reason I went A&M is home field, so those dynamics, the external dynamics, but also I do think that I'm getting the healthiest tailback situation they've had in quite a while. I also love that those skill guys like Craver, even some of them who have been on the field maybe the past month of the season, you never know at what percentage they're playing versus what percentage they will be improved to in this kind of game. Because sometimes those guys come into a postseason situation and they look like they're shot out of a cannon. Well, just because time off really helped them. So you've got to sustain drives against Miami. Miami's defense is very good at not giving up cap buster plays, not giving up huge explosive plays. Doesn't mean you can't score on them. It means you've got to sometimes put together a 9-play drive to score on them instead of just counting on out of nowhere. And to do that, you've got to be able to rely on more than one thing. That actually, ironically, on the Miami side is the other thing I'm concerned about with them a little bit is Miami's offense can function at a pretty high level, but Malachi Toney has to be humming. Either that or their ground game has to be churning a little bit better than it normally is. I think they're like in the 70s or something like that, rush yards per game. They lean on Malachi Toney pretty heavily. He's a really, really good player. We were looking at the breakdown the other night, though. I think I said it on the show. A&M had held half a dozen wide receiver ones to 40 yards or less in games. So they've been good at taking away your main guy and forcing you to show me you've got something behind him. And if A&M's able to force Miami into that situation, I don't know what the magic number would be in this game, but I feel comfortable enough that they can get to it that I picked them to win it.
Hey, Cade, I want you to sit back here, okay, because I'm about to throw you a curveball, all right? I want to hear from QB1, Stephen McGee, right now. He's a believer in Elko. He made a comment about Dan Campbell, which you know I love. I have to play that clip right here. I'm going to eat it up. QB1 shared his hopes for what he wants to see from the Aggies today.
I've been a huge believer in Elko from the time, they were looking for another head football coach. I mean, I hope it's Mike Elko. Him and Dan Campbell are like two of my favorite guys. Yeah. But and he's done a phenomenal job. And this has been an incredible football team in a year. They've had winning football games we normally haven't won. Just finding ways to win, right? And I think that this team, if they play to a high level standard, they can win a lot of football games in the playoff and make a championship run. There's no doubt about it. My hope is that this is a football team that isn't happy to be in the playoff. My hope is this is a football team that is happy to have a chance to go get the national championship because it's championship or burn the dang boats.
Yeah.
I am pissed off if it's anything less.
I think that
It's a disappointment.
you're exactly
We
right.
are not happy being here. We are only happy if we get the championship. If that's the mindset of this football team, I feel good about it.
Love to hear it. Stephen McGee, fire me up. Burn the dang boats. National championship or bust. Love to hear it. That kind of plays into what we were saying at the open of this show here. All right, we're about to close things out here on the TexAgs Tailgate show. Excuse me. We talked about games around the country. I do want to give you a few games around Aggie land. First and foremost, top of mind beyond this college football playoff game is what's going on tomorrow in Kansas City, Missouri. More specifically, right there at the T-Mobile Center. Texas A&M volleyball is gunning for its first ever national championship. They'll take on the Kentucky Wildcats at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. That match will be televised on ABC. Texas A&M's looking for revenge on Kentucky. They fell to the Cats at Reed Arena on October the 8th in 4 sets. That was A&M's only regular season loss in SEC play. They are now looking to defeat their third consecutive number 1 seed. They took out previously unbeaten Nebraska last weekend. They took out Pitt on Thursday. They're trying to make it a trifecta against the Wildcats. Why not us, right, Cade? Why not us?
Why not us?
And then elsewhere on the hardwood, closer to home, it is Fan Appreciation Day at Reed Arena. It's a doubleheader of basketball in College Station. Women's hoops will begin things at noon. Men's will follow at 3 o'clock. The women are taking on Prairie View. The men are taking on East Texas A&M, previously A&M Commerce. Joni Taylor and company 6-2. This is their final non-conference game of the season. And then the men's team, Bucky McMillan, they are 8-3. They're averaging over 100 points in non-conference games against non-power opponents. All right, as we wrap things up here on the TexAgs Tailgate Show, brought to you by Duck Camp, it's time to make some predictions. And if I get just one of these right, Cade, I will move back to, well, that's not true. My math's wrong. Anyways, if I get one of these right, I will have a better week than I did after Thanksgiving. Just one. It's a low bar to clear. First time ever I've gone 0 for 5. So I did not see what was coming in Austin happening at all. But here are my predictions for Texas A&M Miami, okay? And I am 27-28 on the year, so I'm batting right around 500. It's not terrible. Number 1, I've got Cassius Howell finishing with more sacks than Reuben Bain Jr. I think Cassius is just a better player. I'm sorry. Number 2, I've got Le'Veon Moss getting upward of 12 carries, and I have him scoring a touchdown today. That's 2 for 1. Number 3, another 2 for 1. Give me an Ashton Bethel-Roman and a Malachi Toney touchdown. Equal opportunity to show here. I'm not just making A&M homer picks. I've also got Toney scoring as well. Number 4, I've got A&M running for 150 plus on Miami's vaunted run defense. And then number 5, you heard, you expect a knockdown, drag-out fight. You expect a 4-quarter down-to-the-wire ball game. I am no different, okay? I expect a margin of less than a touchdown today. And Cade, I'm going to book a trip to DFW by the time we get back to the office after being at Kyle Field. That's it for us here on the TexAgs Tailgate Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just about an hour and 10 minutes away from college football playoff action at Kyle Field. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much to our friends at Duck Camp. And beat the hell out of Miami and beat the hell out of Kentucky. We'll see you next time.